Yep.
I'm ready to start if you are.
I am. Go ahead.
Okay. So hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2021 annual meeting of Preservation, Massachusetts. Thank you for taking a few moments of your day to join us as we look back and, more importantly, look ahead to the new year. Before we begin, just a few housekeeping items, and I'm always good at this, or I try to be. We ask all attendees to mute their lines in order to reduce background noise, and please use the chat feature to ask any questions, and we will address at appropriate times during the meeting. For voting, we ask that your approval be noted by using the thumbs up icon found in the Under the Reactions tab on your Zoom toolbar, or you can simply type "I" in the chat feature. This meeting is also being recorded and will be made available in the next few days on the Preservation Massachusetts website. I now want to introduce John Gayan, Chair of Board of Directors, to open the meeting and say a few words. John?
Thank you very much, Jim, and welcome to our annual meeting. It obviously has been a lot more fun when our annual meetings have been live and in person, but we're doing the best we can, and thankfully we have the capability with Erin and Jim and all of our technical people to do that. 2020 into 2021 has been a very, very unusual year for all of us in our lives, in our personal lives, in our business lives, and certainly for Preservation Massachusetts. Notwithstanding the pandemic, I think we have accomplished a lot. I think we've also learned how to do what we're doing now, which is to have meetings remotely and be in touch with each other and hopefully to make progress. I'll leave it up to Erin to explain what we're going to be doing in 2021, but I'm very excited. We've had lots of meetings, all virtual, mind you, but lots of meetings with Erin and Jim and others on our governance committee, our executive committee, and some of you, our board of directors, to try and keep things moving forward, and I'm sure we will. I know that we have a truncated meeting this year because of the Zoom, and so I won't take up much of your time, but I want to take one thing totally out of order. And that is that when we get around to voting for directors for the coming years, we also generally thank those who are leaving the board. In this case, we have 5 of our distinguished members: Tony Pollock, Ellen Lipsey, John Mackey, Lisa Howe, and Bob Score, who have indicated to us that they'd like to rotate off. And I'd like first, right now, for all of us to give them a virtual thanks or congratulations or applause or whatever you want to do. They've been an integral part of this organization for years, many of them preceding my involvement with Preservation Mass, and we wouldn't be where we are today without them. So our thanks to each and every one of you. I'd also like to, and anytime you do this sort of thing, you screw it up. You mention one person and you get in trouble for not mentioning everybody, or you do it in the wrong order or whatever. And so with apologies for doing that, I want to make 3 general remarks. The first is that I think that we should make sure, Erin and Jim, that when we have our awards dinner in May, even though it's a virtual event, I want to make sure that we spend some time thanking those directors who are leaving us today. Just doing it with the directors and thanking them, quite frankly, isn't enough. It's our wider community who really should be giving thanks to each of the 5 that I've mentioned before. So that's the first thing. The second thing, one of the highlights of our organization, at least in the awards dinner in the past, has been the awarding of the Menino Award. We get a lot of interest in that award, and we wouldn't have that if it weren't for the incredible relationship that Tony Pollock has had with our late mayor and his wife. And so not to diminish anybody else's role, but personally, I want to thank Tony for every year when I've asked her to try and see if we can get Mrs. Menino to come and help do the awards. Tony, you just have been incredible in giving to us and to bringing that, which is a very important part of our preservation awards, to fruition. So thank you. And then personally, John Mackey, I've known John for a long time, for a long, long time. And what I can say about John Mackey, don't know that he's on this meeting at all, but what I can say about John Mackey is that it has never made a difference where I interrupted him with an email or a telephone call, whether we were at a conference, whether he was in California, whether he was in Naples, or whether he was just up the street from me in Massachusetts. Always I got a response, and always I got a, how can I help you? The reason our organization works is because people like Tony and Alan and John and Lisa and Bob are always responsive to our other members. So once again, my thanks to each of them for doing that. And with that, I think it's time for me to stop and to move to introduce the Board of Directors slate for 2021 to be voted on by all of those that are present. The slate is as follows. We'll do one vote. Elected to a 3-year term expiring in January of 2024, Kara Anderson, Pam Bailey, John Gayan, Dan Kolodna, Gordon Pulsifer, Maureen Cavanaugh, Josh Cohen, and our new board member, Sarah LaCour. Because we're only having one vote, you don't get to vote against me and vote for everybody else. So please remember that. Elected for a 2-year term expiring in January of 2023, Mercedes Ferrando and Claudia Wu, and elected to a 1-year term expiring in January of 2022, and hopefully in 2022 extended for more years, Rob Charest, John Cornell, Wendell Caslow, Ryan Lynch, Jim McDermott, Nick Ratty, Michael Rosenberg, John Brzezinski, Mary Thompson, and Scott Winkler. At this time, I'd like to ask for a motion to accept the slate of members as presented. And to make a motion, you need to indicate to do so in the chat room.
John, so moved.
Do we have a second?
Rob Charest offered a second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Oh, this is great. I should ask for something else.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? I haven't heard so many ayes on anything I've said in, I don't know, a long, long time ago, certainly before I was married. Okay, do we have anyone opposed? Then the ayes have it, and the slate of Board of Directors as presented is approved. I think at this point I'll turn it over to Pam. The agenda had planned to have me make remarks about the departing members, but I've already done that. So Pam, if you could give us a financial review of 2020, I would appreciate it.
Sorry about that. Thank you very much, John. Our first slide shows a comparison of the last 9 years of our financials. And 2020 was challenging for everyone, but we were able to come out successfully. I think it's interesting to note that our margins, although our revenue was less this year, our margin from revenue to expenses is greater than in the past. A large part of this is due to our annual awards event. The virtual event dramatically reduced our overhead costs, resulting in more funds going directly to PM. The year also presented us chances to reevaluate and reduce our overhead. We have a new office space, which will have a long-term effect on savings for Preservation Mass, and has allowed us to put plans in place to bring on new staff and to expand our programs. Our revenues this year, revenue slide. Our revenues this year, the awards event continues to be our primary revenue source. We're optimistic about this year's event, but also recognize the challenges with having 2 virtual events in a row. Our program service fees were up this year, and always our memberships and donations are a large part of our operating revenue, and all the more valued in a year such as this. Preservation Mass was also successful in getting a forgivable PPP loan in 2020. Third slide is our expenses, which have remained steady, but also with a reduced overhead through both working remotely, unfortunately no travel, and then again the new office space have all, we're all part of the reduced expenses. Our staff was able to continue to focus on doing their work throughout the year. We operated all of our programs and in fact added program, and ended up we were just as busy as ever and more so this year. And moving forward in 2021, we're planning to bring on additional staff and move forward with improving our programming and continuing the successful, effective organization. That's a pretty short report. If anyone's got questions, please feel free to follow up with either myself or Erin through the PM website. And if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat or unmute or whichever. And if not, then I'll turn it back over to John. Thank you.
Thanks, Pam. Jim or Erin, is there anyone who has expressed a view to ask a question to Pam?
Erin? No, we haven't heard any. Anything from anyone, John.
Okay, so Pam, thank you very much. I'd like to ask at this point if there is any additional business matter that anyone would wish to discuss. All right, so seeing none or hearing none through Jim, then I'm going to declare that the business part of the meeting is officially closed. The meeting is not closed, and I'd like to turn it back over to Jim and to Erin for thoughts on 2020 and thoughts on how we move forward on 2021. Thank you very much.
John, thank you for your tremendous leadership this past year. And we certainly are looking forward to your leadership here in 2021. You've done an amazing job under some very difficult circumstances. And we as staff, and I think board too, are very appreciative. So I'd like to say, in mid-March, when Erin and I returned from Capitol Hill and our federal lobbying work, the world was in the midst of turning upside down like no one had ever experienced. We had no idea. I don't think any of us did. Both Erin and I felt relieved and very fortunate that we returned home safely. And just that as the beginning of the year, it started like no other. Long hours of strategizing about how a preservation nonprofit that we felt was so important to our Commonwealth could and would survive. We soon realized that our major source of revenue, our May Awards dinner, would have to be canceled, at least in its usual form. And that was very difficult for this organization. Thanks to Preservation Massachusetts' incredible board of directors and hours of planning with staff, PM developed a plan, got creative, and remained ever optimistic, and came up with some new ideas for program and maintaining revenue. We saw opportunities that would allow the work of Preservation Mass to make historic preservation here in Massachusetts even stronger. And we were able to do that. And I also, as John did, want to thank the 5 board members that are stepping down. And I want to thank you, all 5 of you, for your service, your dedication, and your years of support to Preservation Massachusetts. You're hugely important to this organization, and we will never forget you. We fully understand that 2021 will be another very challenging year, but we will be ready, as John has indicated. We have already begun to strategize and plan, and all the while realizing that flexibility and creativity will be a key to our success in 2021, just as it was in 2020. And with that, here are some of the highlights from a unique year that have been put together by Erin Kelly, our Associate Director. So Erin?
"2020 has come to embody more than just 12 months on a calendar. It was a year where everything changed, from where we work and learn, to how we see ourselves and how we continue to evolve as people, communities, and a country." For Preservation Massachusetts, 2020 began on a busy and positive note. We were inviting full applications for our new grant partnership with the 1772 Foundation, providing $100,000 in matching preservation grants to historic buildings in Massachusetts. This new opportunity was met with tremendous enthusiasm, with over $700,000 in requested funding. It certainly was a highlight and bright spot for us this spring when we awarded grants to 14 projects from all over the state. From a small library on Cape Cod to a national historic landmark of modern architecture, this first grant round was very uplifting. And we were thrilled when the trustees of the 1772 Foundation continued the program for 2021. Funding is key for preservation. It all seems to come down to money. The response to the 1772 grant told us what we already knew. We need to find more funding for preservation in Massachusetts. Our legislative efforts to increase one of the most effective funding tools in the state, the Massachusetts Historic Rehabilitation Tax Credit Program. In the second half of the year, our lobbyist and Preservation Massachusetts collaborated on efforts to add $10 million to the annual cap and extend the sunset date to 2027, making the economic case for the credit and the constant demand outweighing the supply. Despite a lot of work and focus, the credit did not make it into the final bills, but we are not dismayed and are redoubling legislative advocacy efforts in 2021. It was in the midst of legislative advocacy that our 2020 began to take a turn. In Washington, D.C., with partners from all across the country, we saw how quickly the impact COVID-19 would make on our lives. And after a successful series of meetings for National Preservation Advocacy Week, we were just able to make it home to Massachusetts in time before everything shut down. We quickly had to pivot to working remotely, our circuit riders not being able to meet with people in person, and our offices now being in our kitchens and dining rooms. One of the biggest successes of this year was our preservation conversations, weekly opportunities for individuals to connect, learn, and ask questions of the PM staff. It quickly took off, from having only 2 participants on our first call to upwards of 200 for a discussion on historic stone walls in June. We were pleased to be joined by partners from Mass Historical Commission and other guest speakers, many of them board members, and from other partner organizations willing to share their experiences, insight, and expertise. You can find all of our preservation conversations on our YouTube channel and website. Our 2020 awards, though extremely different, was a great success. Most of the spring and summer was spent trying to figure out how to transition a 30-plus-year-old event into a meaningful virtual celebration of preservation. And we think that it worked. Our 25 awardees were honored with a 2-week multimedia celebration that enabled us to tell even more of their incredible stories. Our heartfelt thanks go out to all of our sponsors and all who participated in Preservation Live on October 23rd. We all knew that the world would not magically change at the stroke of midnight, January 1st, 2021. But that is not a bad thing. We have learned a lot about our organization, ourselves, and our supporters. But we also realized and acknowledged that we have a whole lot more to learn ourselves, and we need to listen. The histories we preserve and share through projects, buildings, and landscapes have not always been reflective of the whole American experience. And we, as an organization that advocates and educates about those histories, should be more diverse in our work, our collaborations, and our efforts. We could not do this without your support. Whether you tune in for a preservation conversation, attend a conference, or ask for a circuit rider's assistance, we thank you for working with Preservation Massachusetts. And we thank all of our members, donors, and sponsors for helping us keep the lights on for another year. Thank you for supporting us through 2020, and we look forward to sharing our successes from 2021 with you next year. And thank you for believing in preservation.
So Erin, I think you're going to pick up from here.
Yes, I am. Thank you very much, John. Hello, I'm Erin Kelly, Associate Director of Preservation Massachusetts. And echoing Jim's sentiments of earlier, once again, a huge thank you to our entire board of directors, our incredible staff, Jeff Gagne, Stacia Kaplanson, Julie Roper, our members, supporters, and partners all across the state. We cannot do our work without you. And in creating this little retrospective, it really became clear that we did accomplish a lot of good things, and we want to keep that going in 2021. And speaking of good things, we are pleased to share that we got a great response for a little contest we held in the past couple of weeks, asking for people to hashtag Love Massachusetts Barns. We hosted a little contest asking people to share images of barns in their community, and the winners would receive a packet of the new United States Postal Service barn-themed postcard stamps and a year membership to Preservation Massachusetts. And we got some great submissions, and we couldn't pick just one, so we've picked 4. And today was the day that we were going to show the winners of our contest. They truly show the varied style of barns here in Massachusetts, and barns are quickly becoming a hot advocacy topic for 2021. So here are our 4 winners and 4 barns that will be the face of our new barn resource page and ongoing advocacy efforts. So the first is the Clark Barn in Richmond, Massachusetts, way out in Western Mass. This great livery and feed stable barn in Hamden. This is a barn on the Ralph Waldo Emerson complex in Concord. And this is a barn in Hopkinton. So we will be contacting the photographers and submitters of these images in the next day or so, and letting them know that they're now helping Preservation. They're going to be the face of barns for Preservation Massachusetts efforts going forward. So that was a fun little advocacy. A fun little thing to kick off 2021. And as you can probably tell and know, 2021 has already been busy, and there's a lot more coming. As Jim and John have alluded to, our 2021 Preservation Awards will take place this May, and nomination forms are available on our website. And we're also in preliminary planning for the 2021 statewide preservation conference, with a call for sessions to be coming out soon. Remote connections have allowed us to expand our educational offerings, and we have plans to add to our Preservation Conversation series and our Action Center resources. Legislatively, we're looking to redouble our efforts for the state historic tax credit, as well as looking for ways that we can expand existing funding for preservation or find new opportunities like that we have with the 1772 Foundation. And as always, we work to answer the advocacy calls, requests for information and support and assistance that come in daily to our email inboxes and voicemails. And there are already several big issues already pending for this year. Our ultimate goal for 2021 is to continue to be a leader, partner, and collaborator for preservation in Massachusetts. Thank you for all that you do for preservation in your community and being a part of our organization, now and going forward. And with that, with 5 minutes to spare, that concludes the program for Preservation Massachusetts 2021 annual meeting. So thank you all for taking 25 minutes out of your day to learn what we've done and where we hope to go. I know there's going to be a lot more that we'll be sharing in the next couple of weeks, and we're really excited to have a much brighter 2021. But thank you all so very much for joining us. If anyone has any questions, please send us an email or give us a call. All of our contact information is on our website, preservationmass.org. And we hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll be in touch very soon. Bye.
you, Erin and Jim.
Very much, John. And thank you, Pam. Thank you, everybody.